Namaste and welcome to Daily News Simplified, the what, why and how of newspaper reading. Now we would be analyzing the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper of 20th of July 2019, and the news that would be covered today is given on the screen, and the timestamp for the same is given in the description and the comment section given below. And so now with this, let us start with the first section. Now, as part of our continuous coverage of questions that were asked in the prelims examination of 2019, the question that we're going to discuss today had asked which of the following adopted a law on data protection and privacy for its citizen known as the General Data Protection Regulation, or what is in short form called GDPR. Now, information with regards to the General Data Protection Regulation has been covered several times in Daily News Simplified, whereby if you take a look at the Daily News Simplified of 26th of March 2018, you would have understood that the General Data Protection Regulation is a data protection framework of the European Union, whereby as asked in the question, this data protection framework of the European Union would start from 25th of May 2018. Similarly, if you take a look at the Daily News Simplified video of 2nd of July 2018, in which we have completely covered a report by the Niti Aayog, which was titled The National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence, wherein within the Niti Aayog report on artificial intelligence, which was covered in the DNS of 2nd of July 2018, one of the points that was covered was that India should benchmark its national data protection and privacy law with regards to international standards, in particular the General Data Protection Regulation of the European Union, which had been enforced in May of 2018. Similarly, the General Data Protection Regulation of the European Union was covered comprehensively in the Daily News Simplified video of 30th of October 2018. Wherein, as you are already aware of, that we asked several questions for practice within Daily News Simplified so as to prepare for your prelims examination, wherein within the Daily News Simplified video of 30th of October 2018, a question was asked, which was General Data Protection Regulation is related to which of the following, whereby as you would have understood, the correct answer to this question would have been C, the European Union. And this would have also helped you in understanding that the answer to the question which was asked in the prelims examination of 2019 would have been C, the European Union, whereby the General Data Protection Regulation has been adopted by the European Union. Well, hopefully with this you have understood on how Daily News Simplified videos can help you in preparing for both your prelims and mains examination. And so now with this, let us move on to our first article for today. Now we have taken this opinion-based editorial from the editorial page on page 10. Now the author within this editorial highlights the vision of a blue sky thinking that was given in the recently released economic survey. Now in simple terms, blue sky thinking means finding new and creative ideas to solve current problems. So as we know, the economic survey has said that investment, in particular private investment, would be the key driver of economic growth within India. Whereby according to the economic survey, it is through investment-driven economic model that India can achieve a $5 trillion economy by 2024-25. However, according to the author, a $5 trillion economy by 2024-25 cannot be achieved without improving the economic growth within the agriculture sector. And therefore, according to the author, a $5 trillion economy target of 2024-25 requires an effective economic growth within the agriculture sector. Now, the main reason given by the author for this is that economic growth within India, especially after 1991, has mainly seen contribution, in particular from the services sector, and after that from the industry sector. Whereby after 1991, the contribution from the agriculture sector within the economic growth of India has been quite low as compared to the services and the industry sector. But according to the author, it is the agriculture in itself that can have the largest impact in first ensuring a reduction in poverty, malnutrition and hunger within India, and also ensuring better economic distribution of wealth within India. Now the author has highlighted the recent example of the BRIC countries, which includes Brazil, Russia, India and China, whereby what the author has shown is that 1% growth within the agriculture sector provides 2 to 3 times more effective reduction in terms of poverty as compared to the other sectors. So what this means is, let's say there is 1% growth within the services sector and it has reduced poverty within India by 2%. However, according to the author, if there is 1% growth within the agriculture sector, then the amount of poverty reduction within India would have been 4%. And it is within that context that the author has highlighted the example of the BRIC countries, wherein 1% growth within the agriculture sector within Brazil, Russia and China has shown that there is a reduction in poverty at roughly twice or thrice the value. Now, it is within that context that the author has said that there should be an increase in investment, both private and public investment, within the agriculture sector. And within that context, the author has highlighted several creative new ideas so as to improve investment within the agriculture sector. Now, these new creative ideas, which has been highlighted by the author, can be considered the blue sky thinking of the author himself. Now, these steps, which has been highlighted by the author, which India can undertake so as to increase investment within the agriculture sector as part of the author's blue sky thinking, should be seen from the perspective of GS Paper 3 within the section Economic Development. Now, the first step, which has been highlighted by the author, is that both public and private investment should be enabled within the agriculture sector, whereby we can focus particular investment within the agro-processing industry, whereby we can export processed foods such as chips from India. Apart from this, one new creative field which has been highlighted by the author is of agriculture tourism, whereby what the author is trying to say is that agriculture tourism can be undertaken within India by integrating the existing tourism circuit with new sites that highlight agriculture tourism. Now, as some of you might be aware of, there is a particular tourism circuit from Jaipur, Delhi, and Agra. And there are several towns which fall between Jaipur and Delhi, between Delhi and Agra, and between Jaipur and Agra. And within the smaller rural areas which fall between these major cities, agriculture tourism can be undertaken, whereby on how farming is done within India can be displayed so as to attract tourists to such rural areas, whereby such agriculture tourism within rural areas would create employment within the rural areas themselves. The second step, which has been highlighted by the author, is that public and private investment should be increased so as to improve the quality of education and research within the agriculture field. Whereby, according to the author, agriculture education and research in particular can be undertaken for resource conservation through the sustainable use of organic material and agriculture education and research in zero budget natural farming. Now, what zero budget natural farming means is that zero budget within this concept means ending the reliance of farmers on loans, especially loans taken from private money lenders, and also drastically cutting down the production cost for producing agriculture goods. Whereby what this would do is end the debt cycle in which farmers are currently suffering from. Moreover, natural farming within this concept means farming with nature, basically using natural fertilizers and other natural inputs for producing agriculture goods, and also not using chemicals for farming. So therefore, according to the author, agriculture education and research should be further undertaken so as to improve zero budget natural farming within India. Now, as some of you may know, India has the largest livestock population within the world. And according to the author, investment should be made by employing next generation technology, which increases productivity, conservation of indigenous breeds, disease surveillance among the livestock, quality control, utilization of the waste which has been produced by the livestock, whereby investment within all of these technology based measures would lead to a sustained increase in farm income. And apart from this, an export oriented growth model can be undertaken so as to improve the livestock sector within India. The fourth point highlighted by the author is that there should be investment in renewable energy generation within the agriculture sector. Now, as you already might be aware of, the Government of India has undertaken the Kusum scheme, in which the government is going to undertake investment in forming solar grids connected to agriculture fields. Now, the fifth point highlighted by the author is that farm business organization is an important source of routing private investment into the agriculture sector. The sixth point highlighted by the author is that data can be the key driver of modern agriculture within India, whereby data which has been collected from e-markets such as e-NAMs, soil mapping schemes within India, can power artificial intelligence-led agriculture within India. Now, according to the author, to power this data-led modern agriculture within India, centralized institutional mechanisms should be formed, whereby these centralized institutional mechanism would collect the data and form effective artificial intelligence so that this data can be used so as to help the farmers. The next main point highlighted by the author is that investment should now be made within India in behavioral farm research. Now, as you already understand, behavioral economics, in particular the nudge theory, has become an important aspect of the recently released economic survey. And within that context, the author is trying to say that farmers should be nudged towards conservation in fertilizer used, the conservation of water in irrigation facilities, and similarly the conservation of electricity which is used in the agriculture sector. Now, with regards to the next point, a common problem within India is that the state government and the central government does not have enough money to ensure public investment within the agriculture sector. Now, it is within that regard that the author has recommended that public expenditure for agriculture investment can be increased by reducing the public expenditure on subsidies and unnecessary loan waivers which are given out by state governments, whereby the money which is used on subsidies and unnecessary loan waivers can be used as effective public investment within the agriculture sector. Now, the last point which has been highlighted by the author is that foreign investment within the agriculture sector should be increased. And to increase foreign investment within the agriculture sector, an inclusive business model which facilitates strong relations between the foreign investor and the Indian farmer should be created. Whereby what is currently missing within India is that there is no proper legal and institutional framework through which foreign investors can invest within the Indian agriculture sector. Whereby currently there are no proper laws on how foreign investors should invest within land within India. Similarly, the government does not have proper facilities on how foreign investors can invest money within the agriculture field, such as in irrigation facilities, fertilizers, and other sectors within the agriculture field. Now, these creative ideas highlight the blue sky thinking of the author on how investment can be increased within the agriculture sector within India. And hopefully, you've gotten a basic understanding of each of these points. And so, now with this, let us move on to the next article. Now, we have taken this article from page 15. Now, what has happened is that the Government of India has introduced the latest Finance Bill of 2019. And under this new Finance Bill of 2019, the Government of India seeks to ensure some form of amendment to the SEBI Act of 1992, or what is the Securities and Exchange Board of India Act of 1992. Now what happens is that all the money which is earned by SEBI currently goes into the SEBI General Fund. However, what has been proposed in the latest Finance Bill of 2019 is that SEBI should now create a new reserve fund. Now what would happen under this is that the money which has been received by SEBI and is kept in its general fund would be divided into two parts. Now 75% of this money which SEBI has put in its general fund would now require to be put into the Consolidated Fund of India, which means that it is going to be transferred to the Government of India. While the remaining 25% from the general fund would be credited by SEBI into a new reserve fund. Now this 25% of money from the general fund which has now been transferred into the reserve fund can be used by SEBI for its own expenses. And apart from this, what the Financial Bill of 2019 has also proposed is that this reserve fund which has been formed by SEBI is that the money which is within this reserve fund cannot exceed the total annual expenditure of SEBI for the last 2 financial years. So now hopefully up till here you understood the main proposal given in the latest Financial Bill of 2019. Now there are 3 main reasons as to why this decision has been undertaken by the Government of India. Now the first reason is that this new proposal seeks to prevent SEBI from accumulating material reserves which it does not require. So now what this basically means is, let's say if SEBI has earned rupees 3000 crore in 2018 and it has only been able to use 2000 crore, then what this basically means that the remaining 1000 crore is being saved by SEBI, and the main intention of the Government of India seems is that they can utilize this 1000 crore for their own expenditure rather than it having been saved by SEBI itself. The third main reason given by the Government of India is that the Comptroller Auditor General of India, or the CAG, has said that India's financial regulators, including SEBI, do not have strong reason as to why they're keeping such a surplus amount. Whereby if they're not transferring this surplus amount into the Consolidated Fund of India, then this money which has been kept by SEBI cannot be scrutinized by the Parliament of India. Whereby if this money is transferred into the Consolidated Fund of India, then it becomes easier for the Parliament of India to scrutinize this public money. Now these are the 3 main reasons as to why the Government of India intends for new amendments to the SEBI Act of 1992 under the latest Finance Bill of 2019. However, what has happened is that SEBI, or the Securities and Exchange Board of India, has raised strong concerns. Now there are 2 main concerns which has been raised by SEBI. First, that will affect the autonomy of SEBI itself. And secondly, SEBI has also said that this new proposal of the Government of India will hamper its ability to function as a regulator of the securities market. Now, the first main concern which has been raised is that SEBI in itself does not have any mandate to raise revenue from the Government of India, whereby the income that SEBI has is generated by its own regulatory functions. Now, basically, there are two main ways through which SEBI is earning money. First is the penalty and settlement fines that is collected by SEBI, and the second source of revenue is the subscription, registration, and renewal fees which is paid by market participants. Now, within that context, the penalties and the settlement fines which are imposed by SEBI is already paid to the Government of India, while it is the subscription, registration, and renewal fees is kept by SEBI itself. Therefore, according to SEBI, a large percentage of the money that it already earns is already given to the Government of India. Therefore, according to the SEBI chairman, if SEBI is forced to give out its bulk of its reserves, basically 75% of its reserve to the Government of India, then it would impair the ability of SEBI to invest in capacity building so as to serve its regulatory functions. Whereby if SEBI only has 25% of the money that it earns as revenue and it is also not getting money from the Government of India, then according to the SEBI chairman, SEBI would not have enough money to ensure capacity building, such as the use of new technology to function as an effective market regulator. Now, the third concern which has been raised is that the market participants are already paying taxes which go into the Consolidated Fund of India. Apart from this, market participants are also paying subscription, registration, and renewal fees to the SEBI to participate in India's stock markets. So, if this money which the market participants are giving to SEBI to participate within this Indian stock market is also again going to the Consolidated Fund of India, then concern has been raised whether this would be an indirect additional tax on market participants. Now, the last main concern which has been raised is that SEBI would now have to seek government approval for capital expenditure. Therefore, what this would do is that SEBI would now need to take permission from the Finance Ministry of the Government of India for capital expenditure. So, therefore, if SEBI wants to form IT infrastructure, increase the salary of its employees, or any other form of capital expenditure, then it would have to take permission from the Finance Ministry. Now, this proposal has again raised concerns that SEBI would lose its autonomy and its independent reputation within the international markets, whereby now it would be dependent upon the Finance Ministry for capital expenditure, rather than having autonomy and independent decision making authority with regards to its own expenditure. Now, after understanding the concerns raised by SEBI, what you need to know is that these concerns raised by SEBI has been rejected by the centre government, whereby it is most likely that the Government of India is going to go forward with the latest finance bill of 2019, which seeks to make changes to the functioning of SEBI. Now, because this finance bill of 2019 still has to be passed by the Parliament of India, this news shall be considered as being a news in transition, whereby let us wait and see as to the final finance bill passed by the Parliament of India. Now, this article and the explanation given in this section should be seen from the perspective of GS Paper 2 within the section Governance and Polity and from the subsection Regulatory Bodies, whereby SEBI is one of the regulatory bodies within India. And so now with this, let us move on to the next article. Now, we have taken this editorial from the editorial page on page 10. Now, what has happened is that the updation of the National Register of Citizens within the state of Assam has to be done by 31st of July. However, what has happened is that the centre and the state government of Assam have sought an extension from the Supreme Court, whereby they would not be able to update the NRC list within the state of Assam by the deadline of 31st of July. However, again, what has happened is that the Supreme Court has insisted that the centre and the Assam government stick to the deadline of 31st of July. And within that context, the Supreme Court on 23rd of July is going to hear the case from the centre and the Assam government to extend this deadline. Therefore, within that context, this news should be considered news in transition, whereby let us wait and see as to whether the Supreme Court would allow the centre and the Assam government to extend the deadline beyond 31st of July 2019. Now, the second aspect which this editorial has highlighted is that the Assam government is going to set up 200 more foreigners tribunal so as to handle the large number of cases that are going to come up after the final NRC list is supposedly published on 31st of July 2019. Now, information with regards to the NRC list and with regards to the Foreigners Tribunal has been covered in the Daily News Simplified of 16th of June 2019. Now, what I'll do is attach this section of the Daily News Simplified video of 16th of June, through which we can again revise about the NRC and the Foreigners Tribunal. Now, as you already understand, the state of Assam suffers from a huge problem of illegal migrants, especially those who have come from Bangladesh. Now, what had happened was that on the directions of the Supreme Court, the Registrar General and Census Commissioner of India, which is under the Ministry of Home Affairs, had published the final draft list of the National Register of Citizens, or the NRC list, on 30th of July 2018. Now, the National Register of Citizens, or the NRC list, is meant to segregate the Indian citizens that are living in the state of Assam from those who had illegally entered the state of Assam from Bangladesh after 25th of March 1971. Now, after the final draft list of the NRC that was published on 30th of July 2018, about 40 lakh people were excluded from the final draft. And therefore, over the course of this year, from 30th of July 2018 till today, about 36 lakh people have filed claims against this exclusion from the final draft of the NRC list. Now, what had happened was that around 40 lakh people were said to be illegal migrants that have entered into the state of Assam. Now, out of this, 36 lakh people have said that they are citizens of India and not illegal migrants within the state of Assam. And it is within that regard that around 36 lakh people have filed their claims that they are citizens of India and should be included within the final list of the NRC, or the National Register of Citizens, and therefore be treated as being Indian citizens within the NRC list. Now, these claims, which has been filed by 36 lakh people within the state of Assam, is being heard by the Foreigners Tribunal. Now, currently about 100 tribunals exist within the state of Assam. However, these 100 Foreigners Tribunal are going to be increased within the state of Assam. Now, what is going to happen is that the final list of the NRC is going to be published on 31st of July 2019. Therefore, again, when the final NRC list is going to be published, again, various individuals are going to be left out. Therefore, to give a proper hearing to those who have been excluded from the final NRC list, which is going to be published, and thereby handle the influx of applications, the Ministry of Home Affairs has decided to form around 1,000 additional Foreigners Tribunal. Now, apart from this, one important fact that you should know is why is the date of 25th of March 1971 has been taken to segregate the Indian citizens living within the state of Assam from the illegal Bangladesh migrants. Now, it was in 1971 that the Bangladesh Liberation War began. And it was after when the Bangladesh war started that a large influx of Bangladeshi migrants entered within the state of West Bengal, Assam and other northeastern states. Therefore, afterwards what happened was that the Assam Accord was signed, and under the Assam Accord it was decided that those who have entered after the midnight of 24th of March 1971, meaning that those Bangladeshi migrants which had entered into the state of Assam after the midnight of 24th of March 1971 would be sent back. And this is why that cutoff for the NRC list has been taken as 25th of March 1971. So now hopefully with this, you have understood the main focus of this article as to why does the state of Assam need more Foreigners Tribunal. And the main reason as to why Assam needs more Foreigners Tribunal is because the final NRC list is going to be published on 31st of July 2019, and therefore which is going to lead to an increased influx of claims and applications by those who have been excluded within the NRC list. And therefore the Ministry of Home Affairs has decided to increase the number of Foreigners Tribunal who hear such claims from those who have been excluded from the NRC list. Now, apart from this, what you should also know is who are the members of the Foreigners Tribunal. Now, the Foreigners Tribunal is headed by members which are appointed under the Foreigners Tribunal Act of 1941 and the Foreigners Tribunal Order of 1984. Now, members of the Foreigners Tribunal can be a retired judicial officer of the Assam Judicial Services, or he could also be a retired civil servant or an additional secretary who has judicial experience. Apart from this, a member can also be a practicing advocate, whereby a practicing advocate can be appointed based on certain criteria. Now, apart from this, an important social requirement to become a member of the Foreigners Tribunal within the state of Assam is that they should have a fair knowledge of the official languages of the state of Assam, first being Assamese, second being Bengali, third being Bodo, and the fourth being English. Apart from this, the member who's going to be appointed should also have the knowledge of the history with regards to the Assam's foreigners issue, meaning that the individual should have an understanding on how the Bangladeshi migrants have entered into the state of Assam, what has been the politics with regards to the foreigners issue within the state of Assam, what are the demands of the students' union within the state of Assam, the various political decisions taken by the government of India and the Assam government with regards to the foreigners issue, and apart from other historical knowledge with regards to the foreigners issue within the state of Assam. Now, apart from this, what you should also know is that who has been given the job to finding out who are the illegal Bangla migrants is that it is the Assam Police Border Organization, which is part of the Assam State Police, which is tasked with detecting the foreigners. Apart from this, it is also the Assam Police Border Organization, which forms the cases for the tribunals to decide. Now, what this means is that when a person who has been declared as being an illegal foreigner within the state of Assam has to go to the Foreigners Tribunal, then it is the task of the Assam Police Border Organization to provide the material and establish a case to show that this particular person is an illegal migrant or a foreigner within the state of Assam and should be excluded from the NRC list. However, apart from this, what you should also know is that the Assam Police Border Organization has been massively accused of inducing in corruption, whereby they have been accused of taking money from various individuals so that they're first not detected as being foreigners within the state of Assam, and secondly, to also weaken the case that the Assam Police Border Organization is supposed to put up in front of the Foreigners Tribunal, whereby the article in itself has called the Assam Police Border Organization is a money-making machine. Now, after this, the last aspect from today's article that you need to understand is the recent amendment which has been made to the Foreigners Tribunal Order of 1984. Now, changes that have been made to the Foreigners Tribunal Order of 1964 has been covered within the Daily News Simplified video of 10th of June, whereby what had happened is that under the Foreigners Tribunal Order of 1964, the central government can constitute a tribunal, and the purpose of this tribunal will be to find out whether a person is foreigners or not. And therefore, the Foreigners Tribunal Order of 1964 empowered the central government to form what is called the Foreigners Tribunal. However, what has happened recently is that the central government has made various changes to the Foreigners Tribunal Order of 1964, whereby the central government has allowed state governments, union territory administration, district collectors or district magistrate to form Foreigners Tribunal, whereby earlier it was only the power of the central government to form the Foreigners Tribunal. However, now state governments, UT administration, district collectors or district magistrate can also form the Foreigners Tribunal. And this was the change that was made to the Foreigners Tribunal Order of 1964. So now hopefully you've understood the major points that have been highlighted in today's article with regards to the Foreigners Tribunal. And so now with this, let us move on to the next article. Now we have taken this report which has appeared in the Hindu newspaper from page 11. Now what this report is highlighting is that the place called Aluva in the state of Kerala has become a major hub within India for narcotic traffic and use. Now, it has been mentioned within this article that Aluva in Kerala has been affected by narcotics trade at the same level as the state of Punjab. Now, the article has highlighted various problems as to why Aluva within the state of Kerala is emerging as a hub for narcotics. Now, the first problem which has been highlighted is that the users of drugs within this region of Aluva in Kerala are mostly students who are either barely out of school or are currently within college. Now what is happening is that students have easier access to drugs, whereby such drugs are being sold in hostels, near colleges, and because of peer pressure and access to the narcotics network through mobile phones, it is mostly college students who are now falling as being drug victims. Apart from this, another reason as to why it is much more impacting college students is that those students who are especially staying in hostel do not have their family or their extended society to stop them from using drugs. And according to this article, because of these reasons, a drug epidemic is being seen among the students who are located within this region. Apart from this, what is also happening is that ganja, which is a form of cheaper drug, is easily available because it is cheap and easier to smuggle into Aluva in Kerala from neighboring states. But one of the problems with ganja is that it is a gateway drug, whereby what this means is that if one person has tried ganja, then it becomes very likely that this particular person can move on to harder drugs. Apart from this, a main reason as to why Kerala is being seen as an emerging hub for narcotics is that heavier drugs are now being smuggled by the international drug cartels from Malaysia and other Southeast Asian countries due to the Last Sea trade of Kerala. Now, this was also the case with Punjab, whereby what was seen is that because Punjab shared a border with Pakistan, there was a huge influx of drugs from Afghanistan and from Pakistan into the state of Punjab. Similarly, what is being seen is that because of the Last Sea trade of Kerala, international drug cartels, especially from Southeast Asian countries, are smuggling heavier drugs into the state of Kerala. Now, one more reason as to why it has become difficult to combat the narcotics trade in Kerala is that there was a recent order by the Supreme Court that the informant and the investigating officer should not be the same person. Therefore, what has happened is that there was a shortage of manpower because individuals who were working as informants, let's say in the police department, and the investigating officer who might have been working in the excise department were required to be different people. And therefore, the investigating officer from the excise department could not work as an informant, and similarly, a police officer who might have been working as an informant could not work as the investigating officer. And this led to a shortage in manpower in combating the narcotics trade. Apart from this, one reason highlighted within the article is that liquor was banned in the state of Kerala in 2015. Therefore, what happened afterwards is that the police, the excise department, and basically the security forces within the state of Kerala had to shift their focus towards containing or stopping the smuggling of illegal liquor. Now, because they were trying to contain or stop the smuggling of illegal liquor, what was seen was that the drug cartels grew stronger within the state of Kerala. However, the liquor ban was lifted in the state of Kerala in 2016. However, because the drug cartels had gotten stronger in this 1 year, it became difficult afterwards to take actions against the drug cartels and stop the narcotics trade within the state of Kerala. Now, this article has highlighted various solutions undertaken by the Kerala government so as to solve the drug problem affecting the region of Aluva within the state of Kerala. Now, the first main solution undertaken is that the Kerala police has started a program known as Operation Holiday, which focuses on students who have stayed back in their hostels during the summer vacations. Similarly, the Kerala police has started an Operation Monsoon, which focuses on newcomer students, whereby in both of these operations, help is taken from the students to find and close down drug networks. Similarly, a student police cadet initiative has been started by the Kerala police, whereby these student cadets pass on information about substance abuse which might be undertaken by their fellow students, whereby they pass on this information to teachers which ensure timely and corrective intervention so as to stop further drug abuse by those students. Another initiative which has been highlighted in this article is a campaign known as Our Responsibility to Children, in which teachers are trained with the help of psychiatrists and psychologists for early detection of children who are vulnerable to drug abuse. Now, you need to understand that this problem and the solutions given in this article are confined to the state of Kerala, but nevertheless, such problems exist throughout India, even though this article highlights the example of Kerala. Similarly, such solution which has been undertaken by the Kerala government can also be undertaken by other states so as to control the narcotics trade and drug abuse. Now, this article and the explanation given in this section should be seen from the perspective of GS Paper 3 from the section Security. And so now with this, let us move on to the next article. Now, we have taken this article from page 15. Now, what this article talks about is that the Governor of the Reserve Bank of India and several chiefs of public sector banks are discussing with regards to the rate cut or a cut in the repo rate. Now, it is yet to be seen as to whether the Reserve Bank of India is going to cut the repo rate or not. And therefore, this news should be considered news in transition. However, what we're going to do in today's section is understand about the repo rate through questions for practice. Now, there are two questions for your practice on repo rate. And what you need to do is pause this video, solve both of these questions, and wait for 5 seconds for the correct answer. Now, with regards to question number 1, statement number 1 has been taken from the prelims examination of 2007, and similarly, statement number 2 has been taken from the prelims examination of 2017. Now, the repo rate is the rate at which banks borrow money from the Reserve Bank of India. And similarly, the RBI's benchmark interest rate, which is the repo rate, is decided by the Monetary Policy Committee, whose chairman is the Governor of the Reserve Bank of India. Therefore, the correct answer to this question would be C, both 1 and 2. Now, with regards to question number 2, the first statement states the interest rate at which the Reserve Bank of India absorbs liquidity on an overnight basis from the banks. Now, this is a basic definition for the reverse repo rate and not the repo rate itself. Now, statement number 2 states that it is the penal rate of interest at which scheduled commercial banks can borrow additional amount from the Reserve Bank of India by dipping into their SLR portfolio. Now, this is simply a definition for marginal standing facility. Therefore, in question number 2, neither of the statements are related to repo rate, and therefore the correct answer to this question would be D, neither 1 nor 2. And so now with this, let us move on to the next section. Now there are 3 more questions for your practice, and as you already understand, pause this video, solve all of these questions, and wait for 5 seconds for the correct answer. Now the correct answer to question number 3 is A, Myanmar, Thailand and Laos, whereby the Golden Triangle is basically the border area between Myanmar, Thailand and Laos, which is a known security threat to India for growing opium. Similarly, the region of Pakistan, Afghanistan and Iran is known as the Golden Crescent, which is also a security threat for growing of opium. Now with regards to question number 4, as we have already understood, neither of the statements are correct, whereby the NRC is being formed in the state of Assam only currently. While with regards to question number 5, the correct answer is A. Now, Securities Exchange Board of India or SEBI is a statutory body whereby it has been formed under the SEBI Act of 1992 and it regulates the securities market. Apart from this, because it regulates the securities market, it is also a regulatory body. And now with this, we come to an end in the analysis of today's newspaper. Now we move on to the question for today.